I am terrible at video games. But over the next 7 days, I'm gonna try and become a professional player at a game that's over 20 years old. One game that's always held a special place in my heart is Age of Empires 2. Many gamers born in the 90s will have a very similar memory of this game as one of the 3 games they owned at the time, alongside a cereal box copy of Roller Coaster Tycoon and a bootleg version of Zoo Tycoon. At any time, you could just pop it into that cream-colored Dell desktop your dad bought before he went off for a pack of smokes in Saskatchewan, fire it up, start up a game against the AI, and spend hours deforesting the planet or eradicating the population of boar. Ah, memories. As a child with no actual concept or strategy, I loved this game. Fast forward about 2 decades, and despite my entire life of clicking and button mashing and strategizing in other titles, I probably am not much better at the game now than I was as a kid, although the game itself has evolved a lot in my absence. It's now a lot more complex with a highly dedicated community and surprising pro scene. Talking about the professionals, these guys are amazing. Their reaction time, their decision making, their game knowledge and strategy. They might be the most slept on of all esports athletes in my opinion. I, on the other hand, am absolutely terrible at every video game I pick up. I'm always the worst amongst my friends, and as soon as I start to figure the game out, they start playing another game. So this week, I'm gonna do nothing but grind and learn Age of Empires 2, all with the goal of improving my ranking. And obviously documenting my long and illustrious tenure in my inevitable professional career. Now, what you're about to witness is my journey. The highs are incredibly high, and the lows I had were incredibly low. But what I was able to accomplish in this 1 week, well, it was so worth it I wouldn't have changed it for a thing. So welcome aboard the journey I've dubbed Age of Empires. Monday. So I was gonna start my journey by queuing myself up for a ranked game. No research, no warm-ups, no refreshers. I needed to see how tragic I truly was at this game. I already had an idea because earlier this year I played 7 of my 10 placement matches and lost every single one. Prompting me to uninstall the game and not finish. But now I was determined to finish off these 3 games and get my official elo. Now I did remember a little bit from when I played casually earlier this year. I decided I was gonna pick the Civ, the Celt. Primarily because I remember when you moved them around, their voice line was... Kid? I gotta be honest, I got a good chuckle from moving my priest around and having him say... Kid, kid, kid. Later, I would come to find out, though, they also scream... Kogo, Kogo... like, all the time. Which is funny at first and gets old kinda quick. Kogo, Kogo, Kogo... Shut the fuck up, Jesus. Now, on the surface, this game is pretty simple and a lot of fun to play, which is probably why I really enjoyed it as a kid and even earlier this year. You have these villagers, you have them go out and about and build some houses to live in. You go murder some sheep for food, you use that food to make more villagers, you start deforesting the planet, and bada bing bada boom, you're on your way, you start to produce men with pointy stick, and you click up to the next stage. You do that a few times till you get to the Imperial Age. And I gotta say, this first game was going great. I was a lion. I was falling a little bit behind its score, but that was not a big deal. I just needed some more gold to make better pointy stick boys, naturally. I was already exhausting all my resources at home, so I had to send my boys out and about to no man's land to get more gold. And this was going really, really well, until I got this message.
You have troops?
Panic began to set in. My entire army consisted of only 3 guys. How was I supposed to respond to this?
What if I say no?
Ultimately, I bought some time for myself.
Actually, let's just be friends instead.
But to this message, I received no reply. I knew what was about to ensue. My military production ramped up as I prepared for war. I set up outposts in no man's land to increase my vision. And then, out of the fog of war, rose enemy castles as far as the eye could see. I began to amass pikemen and place my own castle. I would run my men in with no regard for their lives. It was a pure slaughter. Not long after, his counteroffensive began, and he breached my walls, hitting my town center and forcing me to resign. I was bested, but I needed to know, did he have anything to say to the world after my first defeat? And he hit me with the classic,
Hello world.
So that was it, my first game back, and I took a fat L. but I was oddly okay with it. This was just the baseline day to see how bad I was, and we'd be improving after that. The next game went by in a very similar fashion. Maybe I got a little bit better, you never know. We played on Hideout, which is this map where you have forest in between you two, and I played as the Italians for no other reason than I completely forgot to choose my civ, and it just gave me a random one.
Grats.
One could say I was really gaming at this point. Okay, what do these guys do again? Archer and Naval Civilization, advanced to next age cost, minus 15%. Dock University Technology. I was simply amazed G Fuel hadn't sponsored me yet. Regardless, the game was going kind of well for me. I fended off an attack. I wasn't that behind in score. I was actually pretty proud of myself. When all of a sudden I turn around and there's guys in the middle of my base.
Yo, what the fuck, dude? How the hell did he get there?
Full disclosure, Age of Empires brings out my gamer rage like no game has ever before. And it did this earlier this year too, which is kind of why I stopped playing it. But for this video, I'm gonna let it all hang out, so don't judge me too hard. It's only Age of Empires that really does this to me. Once he was in my base, it didn't take long for him to win. Now that I had lost, it was time to do some detective work and figure out how. So I knew from having watched streams in the past, there's a popular software that streamers use called Capture Age, where you could go and watch recorded games back. I really liked watching these streams by this guy T90, this mustachioed man over here. He's pretty entertaining, and you don't really have to know the game well to have a good time watching his stream. Anyways, I opened this game in Capture Age, and I saw that he used his mangonel to cut down all the trees in between us and sneak into my base from the back. So I did a quick Google search and found out how to do it myself. One might say I was learning, I was evolving. But I wasn't gonna go full research mode just yet. I had one more game. And if I wasn't gonna consider taking a bath in my toaster tonight, I needed this dub. I was ready. I queued up a game. I made sure I had my kid-loving Celts, and away we went. Boom, houses. I was dialed in. Next up, friendly banter message. I needed to get into his head.
Was HVH 776 taken already?
Perfect. This map style had goats and not sheep. I could hear the anger in my Welsh ancestors. But I pressed forward irregardless. Collect wood, more food. Oh boy, I was ahead in score and poised to attack. And for the next full hour, I would send wave after wave after wave of raiding party, but nothing enough to make him capitulate. Until finally I amassed a large group of scouts and mangonels. This was it, our final push. We killed his trebuchets, demolished his walls, and we were behind enemy lines. We knocked down his castle, we knocked down his town center, and then he gave up. My epic gamer moment, my first win. Here I was, 1 in 10, my elo a whopping 697. I could smell that G Fuel sponsorship right around the corner. I was ready to start studying and training in the way of the Age of Empires and really start down my journey to becoming a pro. Tuesday, the dawn of a new age for the Ottawa Welshman. Now, I gotta call a spade here. An elo of 700 is absolutely terrible, and I had exactly 6 more days to make it to the pro scene. I needed to get good, and I needed to get good fast. But I had a plan. Just over a year ago, I was at a friend's birthday party, and I met this German dude that loved this game and had an elo of like 1700. So naturally, he's the first person I reached out to. He suggested learning and memorizing a build order, specifically for a fast Castle Age Heim. He also suggested getting faster and learning all the hotkeys. His whole logic behind this, if I could get to the Castle Age first, I could have access to better units, get the upper hand on my neighbor, and just steamroll them with my military. So I had a plan, but could I actually learn this and execute it to get a win? Or hell, just improve at all? I checked the last game I had played, and it took me 29 minutes and 33 seconds to get up to Castle Age. So I was gonna consider any time less than this today an improvement. The first thing I did, a quick YouTube search, AoE 2 fast castle, and I came across this video right here. It was perfect for what I needed. So the guy explains the whole logic in this video, but essentially, you always want to be growing your economy and getting to castle as fast as possible. And you want to minimize the amount of time your workers or your town center are idle and just standing around doing nothing. This will help you grow your economy bigger and faster than your opponent. So the less idle time, the bigger your economy, the bigger your war machine, the better your chances of winning. And the beauty about this whole strategy, someone's gone in and done all the math. So if you do exactly this in this exact order, there should be almost 0 idle time. So for this next part, you have to bear with me. You have to understand the basics of this strategy to understand my entire journey over this week. So here's how the strategy goes. First, you build 2 houses. This way you can have up to 15 population. 15 little Johns and Jones running around. Then for the first 6 people you produce, make sure you have them collecting food from sheeps. Lovely, lovely sheeps. Now apparently 6 people is the exact magic number to have on food at the start. The rate at which they collect food allows you to constantly be producing 1 villager. This is important so your town center never goes idle and you're always increasing your economy. Then you send 4 guys to cut wood. You need this wood to make other buildings. Next is the trickiest part about this whole thing. You have to lure lure a boar. Now, I know you're thinking it doesn't sound tricky, but for somebody new to this game, it's incredibly difficult. Boars are an aggressive animal that will kill your villager if you're not careful. And if you lose a villager, you fall behind in economy. So for this tactic, you have to manage the movement of every single specific unit here. This is known in the community as micro gaming. Again, I know what you're thinking. Ottawa, you've been playing with a micro your whole life. This should come natural to you. But watch, it's actually kind of difficult. What you have to do is take your villager out, hit the boar once or twice, and then run back towards your town center. When you get closer to your town center, you have to get all your other villagers to shoot and kill this boar, while this guy bobs and weaves and ducks around as to not die. You need to do this because boars have a ton of food. And the reason why this is so tricky is, one, you have to make sure no one goes idle during this. That's bad. If you get housed, i.e. not having enough houses to produce more villagers, that's bad. If you don't have enough food in the bank to produce more villagers and your town center goes idle, that's bad. And let me tell you, for somebody completely new to this game, this is incredibly difficult. After that, you build some houses, you send 5 guys to go collect berries, then grab another boar, then some more wood, then some guys to get gold, then you're in the feudal age. Once you're in the feudal age, you have exactly 3 guys to build 2 feudal type buildings, which is the prerequisite to go to the castle age. And just like that, you're in the castle age as quick as possible. Capiche? You got it? All right. I think that last game was helping me practice my Italian.
Buongiorno.
I queued up a game against the AI and did that over and over again. Houses, sheep, wood, boar, berries, boar, wood, gold, feudal, buildings, castle. Houses, sheep, wood, boar, berries, boar, wood, gold, feudal, buildings, castle. Houses, sheep, wood, boar, berries, boar, wood, gold, feudal, buildings, castle. I must have done this 15 times, and I would screw it up every single time. I would forget to queue up a new villager and have my town center idle. My villager would die when getting a boar, so I would fall behind. I wouldn't look over at my notes, and I would skip or put steps in the wrong order. It was a complete and utter shit show. Until I finally got it, I did it in 18 minutes and 35 seconds. I figured I was gonna test this out at least one time today. The thing about this strategy, though, you can't play on open maps. You have to kind of play on arena or hideout, where you can kind of turtle, focus on your economy, get into castle, and then wage war. So I made sure to ban all the open maps. I would become what the community knows as an arena clown. That guy I mentioned before, T90, he has an alt account where he only plays arena called Clown90. So one could say for my specific learning strategy, I was kind of playing like that. Anyways, I got into a game. I was dialed in again. Boom, 2 houses. Perfect. Then 6 on sheep. Some boys on wood? Check. Next, the guy builds 2 houses and then goes to berries. I was kind of losing it a bit here. I wasn't so dialed in, if I'm being honest.
There was a misinput. There was a misinput!
But it's okay. I recovered. Then I got my second boar. Whoop bam. I didn't idle any of my villagers or my TC. Perfect. Then 3 on gold, and you guessed it, we're up to feudal. Everything was working as intended. I built my 2 buildings, the market, the blacksmith, and I was on my way up to castle. Oh, baby.
It's all coming together.
And I did it in 17 minutes. I was elated. This was amazing. All this progress in one day. But what the fuck do I do now? I literally didn't practice this part. I have no idea what to do. Then what do I see but this little bastard poking his nose out behind my tree line on hideout? It was all coming back to me.
No!
Make it stop! And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. And as George W. Bush would say,
Fool me once. Shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
I had researched this strategy last night. I was learning, I was evolving, I was gonna use it. I simply made some mangonels, got my upgrade to onagers so I could knock down the trees. So I was ready. I built a massive military, cut down these trees, and we were off to the races. We were behind enemy lines, and after 2 minutes of my units wrecking havoc back there, it was GG. This was awesome. My hard work for the day paid off. I was super happy. Yet I checked my inbox, and no message yet from the G Fuel people. I was gonna have to get the ball rolling myself, so I crafted the tweet that was about to change my life.
About to go pro at Age of Empires 2, at G Fuel Energy. When should I expect to hear from you regarding my first sponsorship?
I would receive no reply. Wednesday. Hump day, am I right? Wednesday was a strange day for me on this journey, I gotta be completely honest. I had this sneaking suspicion that the build order I was using was not gonna carry me much further. Now, I had a really long day at work writing these Ansible playbooks that just didn't want to work for whatever reason, so I wasn't in the best mood. Not only that, but I had stayed up the whole night before refreshing my Twitter, waiting for that G Fuel reply, which never came. Regardless, I had to press on with this challenge today. So while I was working, I had some streams on in the background, and I picked up a few helpful tricks. Namely, if you want to multiply whatever you're queuing by 5, you just have to hold the shift key while you're doing it. I also learned that if you want to select all of a specific thing, all you had to do is double click one of them. I knew these were both going to be super important tricks for improving my speed, which is what I wanted to improve today. If you watch any of the pros, like this Canadian guy here, Hera, he's clicking like an absolute madman. Look at him. He's got so many actions per minute going on, and I really don't. So after work, I was gonna map my hotkeys and memorize them, all with the goal of increasing my speed today. Now, I wasn't gonna pay the premium subscription to Capture Age to get actual metrics on this, so I just had to trust my gut to see if I was getting faster.
Speed is extremely important.
I watched a couple of YouTube videos on this, and to be honest, it's all kind of boring stuff, but I'll just give you an example. Here's building the old way, and here's building with knowing my hotkeys. The other ones that I found were super important was I put my idle villager button to be the 3rd button on my mouse. So if I had any villager that was just standing around jerking off, I could press this side mouse button and instantly get them back to work without having to hunt and figure out where they are, thus improving my economy. I also configured the tab key to be the select all town centers without jumping the screen to them button, which was actually huge. This way I could be in the middle of a fight on the other side of the map, notice my town center was idle just by glancing at the top of my screen, and then instantly queue up more things to make sure my eco was pumping and never stalled. So I had practiced this once or twice and was ready to try it out. I queued up a game and I was really feeling it. I was clicking, I was going, I was attacking, when all of a sudden, I won. I couldn't figure out what happened. I just won. Isolated just gave up. My elo was higher than ever. I went to queue up another game and Microsoft had other plans. So I was out for 2 hours. I went for a little walk, I had a nice big bowl of pasta my girlfriend made me, and by the time the server maintenance ended, I gotta be honest, I was tired from work, I was a little grumpy, I wasn't in the best of moods, but I was a gamer. And you don't get the title of gamer for only playing when you want, or for having an RGB keyboard. Hell, you don't even get it for being good. Clearly, if I had it. You get the title gamer for never missing a day, putting in the hours, chugging gamer powder that will remain nameless for now, and giving it your all. So I queued up my next game. I was ready. Then I got rushed and absolutely fell apart. Okay, all right, first loss, no problem. We'll just queue up another game. And again, I got rushed and absolutely trounced. Okay, the elo's fallen. But you know what? 3rd time's a charm. I just wasn't warmed up yet, you know? And this one didn't go so well either, if I'm being completely honest. Oh, fuck off. Jesus fucking Christ. Fuck this fucking game. My elo was lower than it was when I started this whole competition. This was so brutal. It was late. I was quite upset. After this one, I was done. I called it a night. At this rate, I'd be lucky if GamerSup sponsored me. And Christ still sponsor anybody.
Link down below, we got some free samples.
Thursday. So last night I had gone to bed more angry than your stepdad when he finds out there's no more beer left. Where's my Le Bat Bleu? But today was a new day, we're past the halfway point, and I physically went into the office today. On my commute, I watched some videos and I sent some emails off. One that was actually kind of important for this challenge. And when I got home at 6, oh boy, I was ready. I was determined to make my elo back from yesterday. And this game started out pretty promising. Then I tried to lure my first boar, and the gamer rage commenced. What? Give me a break. Honestly, it wasn't the worst Age of Empires I'd ever played, but it was pretty sloppy gameplay. I wasn't gonna let that put me down. At this elo, 1 Vill's not the end of the world. I was still ahead in score. It's all good. Until I went to go lure my 2nd boar. Let me tell you right now, mistakes were made, ladies and gentlemen. Mistakes were made. 2 Vills. The game was not even 10 minutes in yet. Immediately after this, I accidentally double-clicked one of my villagers, selecting all of my villagers, and proceeded to assign him a task, to which all of my villagers responded. Oh, fuck off. I was not happy, but I still pushed through. I thought, even though I was playing terribly, I could kind of still win this game. I was able to use my priest to collect all the relics, which through a video I had watched on the Metro, I learned was pretty important.
When you put a relic in your monastery, it adds a trickle of 30 gold per minute to your stockpile, which is equivalent to 1 villager with gold shaft mining upgrade, which will eventually lead to that player gaining advantages.
For over an hour, we went back and forth through attacks and defenses, raids and sieges, until finally I broke through his walls with armored siege units, took out his castle, took out his town centers, and he gave it up. Fucking finally. I had clawed back my elo to its original spot, and I was determined to make back what I had lost yesterday. I queued up another game, and would proceed to be absolutely demolished. You know how gambling's only really an addiction if you are bad at it? Like if you're winning, no one's gonna say anything, you know, you're winning. Well, I had an Age of Empires addiction. Doubling down, thinking I could take back my winnings, I would queue up game after game after game, and I lost every single one. Fucking mother! Fuck this fucking game! Jesus fucking Christ.
I can feel your anger. It gives you focus.
I was addicted to losing at this point. And I was down. I was down bad. But I had my build order. I was advancing to the castle age faster. I was getting faster with my hotkeys too. I had watched hours and hours of YouTube videos on this game, taken countless notes. I had been practicing, yet my elo was lower than it had ever been before. I felt my performance was a reflection on my own life. Just like with YouTube, the harder I worked, the more I studied and tried to figure out how to produce a better video, the worse my views got. Similarly with this, I felt like I was doing everything right, yet I was at the lowest point of my Age of Empires career. Something had to give. It was gonna be Age of Empires, or it was gonna be me. Friday, 2 a.m. I awoke in a cold sweat. I was having an existential crisis. How could I be working so hard at something and the data show me that I was actually getting worse? I literally could not wrap my mind around it. I should be showing some kind of improvement. In all honesty, I felt like a complete and total failure in life in general. So I made a plan and went back to sleep. Tomorrow was gonna be a big day. Friday, at a reasonable hour. I was determined today was the day we were gonna come back. So remember yesterday when I said I sent out a very important email to this guy? Spirit of the Law. Now he's an Age of Empires 2 YouTuber. I thought, hell, maybe this guy could help me out. I asked him if he wanted to play in a 1v1, and he got back to me with this.
That's a creative video idea. I'm not up for it personally, but I do have a suggestion. There's an AoE2 guy named Survivalist. He's more like 2100 elo.
This was intriguing. An elo that high would make him a top 100 player on the planet. So I reached out to Survivalist personally, and we eventually went back and forth in Discord DMs.
If you'd like, I could also go over a replay from you when I'm streaming. This could really help with figuring out basic things you're lacking.
Like a brain or common sense. Survivalist was a literal saint and my actual savior in this case. This was all fine and dandy, sure, but I had to do some work on my own first. So naturally, I would ask him,
do you have recommended strategy?
If you're playing Arena, then you will win 100% playing Turk's Janissary.
This was intriguing.
Just do fast castle drop and constantly make the unique unit. This is extremely difficult to stop even for higher level players.
That sounded good, I'll tell you. So I queued up a match, and I wound up against this guy named the Sicilian, playing as the Sicilians. I had a feeling this was not gonna go well. But I had a new energy to me, and it wasn't just from the no-name caffeine supplements I was consuming. I fired him off a message right away.
Buongiorno.
If I had learned anything this week, it was Italian. I was really hyped in this game. My plan, get to castle as fast as possible, make a bunch of their overpowered special unit, these Janissaries with rifles, and just start killing.
Here I go killing again.
I eventually would rush him and drop a castle right on his border. I would break down his walls, start to make my way in, and then out of nowhere, all these guys came and absolutely demolished me. Oh my days. I was on my heels. I had to backtrack and retreat. At this point, I was scrambling. I had all kinds of resources, but didn't know how to use them. And eventually, it was just too much. I was so demoralized. Could it get any worse? I didn't know what I was gonna do. I said, you know what? I'll take my save game and I'll send it to Survivalist, and maybe he can help me.
Hey, Peter.
I had watched all those tutorials, I had practiced, I was just hopeless. But actually, there was something I could do. You see, this game was made in 1999. There was no Discord calls back in 1999, let me tell you that much. So one way to communicate was via text, and the other way was via numbered emotes. So if you send a number, it'll send an actual voice line to the other player, and it'll play in your ear. The common ones are 1 being yes, 2 being no, and 11 being... And I thought to myself, if I was gonna lose every goddamn game I played, I was gonna lose on my own terms. I was going to start memorizing this entire sheet, have it ready to go for when I lost. If I couldn't be the hero in this story, I was going to be the anti-hero.
Perfect.
I would be ready with the
Sure, blame it on your ISP.
or the
Don't point that thing at me.
Anytime anything happened. If this was gonna be my anime arc, so be it.
Quit touching me.
So Survivalist started streaming a little bit later in the day, and in front of 321 people, this pro player was going to review my footage. It was interesting to see what he had to say. For example, his first biggest tip was this.
So we want to keep a very close eye on this idle TC, because that's where a lot of newer players lack. Make sure to put your town center in a control group, or like use the hotkeys. Select all town centers is going to be probably the best one that you want to use here.
And I had already done that. I just wasn't executing. And he describes the consequences of not executing it.
You know, if you fix that, that's instantly 200 elo.
I like the sound of that. He proceeded to give me tips, which I had already learned from his videos, but was too stupid or stressed out to apply during games. And then someone was kind enough to gift me a sub. So big shout out to this guy over here. Thank you very much. Now, I had never been gifted a sub before, and it's actually huge. Every time I saw he went live, I was like, oh, dude, I should totally watch right now. And I watched double or triple the amount I normally would have. If you're not in the habit of gifting subs, I actually think it's probably more beneficial to the streamer than singular donation. And this had to be the single biggest tip he gave me.
Sorry, I mean, if you're gonna make a castle, you should be making constant military, like, as soon as the castle's up. You just keep making Janissaries, you keep sending them forward.
I didn't have the heart to tell him I wasn't going to be doing that in this game, but in the future, I'd figure it out. And I gotta say, his chat was super nice. They were all giving me helpful information. And he concluded with some final thoughts that were super helpful and helped kind of pick up my spirits a little bit after all these losses.
Your main issue with this game was actually not having enough on gold. So having only the one guy on gold was not giving you enough to actually make the Janissaries here. Make more units as well. Like, look, the economy is pretty much the same. Even though you were getting attacked, just got to keep the units alive and make more units. That's the main issue here.
And he had Capture Age Pro, so he could tell me the APM, which stands for actions per minute, which is the definitive measure of how fast you're clicking around and how many tasks you're doing in a given minute.
And even 17 APM already, so.
For my research, I found this graph here, which showed me I was kind of on the upper end of people for my elo. So I do think my practice did kind of help here.
You know, you are definitely going faster than your opponent, even without knowing really what you're doing.
I don't know if he knew I had been practicing only that for like 3 days prior, but thank God he said that, or toaster bath was coming. So here's what I took away from his coaching. Discerning regardless of everything else going on in my life, I need to focus. Remember those basics I had been practicing all week. Rush to the castle age and constantly pump these overpowered Janissaries. Now this game started normally. My Dark Age build order went almost flawlessly for me. It was almost like I could close my eyes and feel what I needed to do next.
Don't idle your TC.
Right, yes. I was flying into the castle age. I was in the zone. I was using every little trick I had practiced. My APM must have been through the roof. But what to do next?
Use what I taught you. Castle drop it.
Yes, I will. I dropped my castle, I had knocked down his walls, I was pumping Jannies like it was nobody's business, and for the first time, I was doing it. I was really doing it. Everything was going great, but I could slowly feel myself being pulled towards a darker power.
Good.
Ottawa?
Good. Kill him. Kill him now.
There are too many of them. What are we going to do?
I killed them. I killed them all. They're dead. Every single one of them. And not just the men, but the women. They're like animals. And I slaughtered them like animals.
And after I wiped out his economy, it wasn't long until he gave up that dub. Holy fuck, it actually worked. The fucking shit actually worked. I can't believe it. I can't believe that. Oh my god. Oh hell yeah! My elo was finally climbing for the first time in what felt like forever but was actually like 24 hours. So I would queue up another game right after this, and I would also come away with a dub. GG, eh, bud? I was elated. It was finally working. I figured, why not queue up another game? So I did. But this time, before I could even hit feudal, he was attacking.
Why you do this? Why we no be friends?
I was nervous. I had never seen this tactic before. I didn't know what he was going for. And then I received this message.
Wrong map.
This was hilarious! Just as I got my shit together, people were gifting me wins! I replied the only way I knew how.
LOL.
Or at least learned how.
11.
The elo was climbing, but it was getting late in the evening and I was getting a little tired. But if I knew anything, you never leave the casino when you're on top. You leave the cast kicking and screaming, being dragged out by security because you placed all your powder fuel supplement sponsorship money on black and it hit red. So I queued up one final game for the evening. I gotta let this feeling ride. And everything was going exactly to plan. And then I went to castle drop him. But to my dismay, he was waiting and killed all my villagers building the castle. I had just wasted all of my stone. I was screwed. He could turn around and attack me right now, and I was tired, so I hit him with this message in chat.
11, that's probably GG.
Such a dumb play.
This was toxicity at its finest. I could not let this stand. And he would begin to start attacking me, and I was in shambles. I was operating on pure instinct. Then I remember something from Papa Serv's videos.
If you lose villagers, you're usually better off trying to make your opponent lose villagers as well, instead of focusing on replacing your own.
So I snuck out the side door. This was Hail Mary time. I used all of my stone and dropped another castle right on his walls. I broke down his gate, would enter his zone, and start killing his entire economy. Blood alone moves the wheels of history, and I was moving them. I would crush any units that stood in my way, and easy as you like, he would resign. And it was time to break out my new voice lines.
Don't resign.
All hail, king of the losers! All hail! All hail! All hail, king of the losers!
Yeah, I was kind of being an asshole, but, you know, he kind of deserved it. Now, my elo was only 669, but I would go to bed different tonight. I would go to bed with hope in my heart. A hope that tomorrow would bring big things. Saturday. Now, one of my biggest takeaways from the previous day is you have to have a clear head when playing this game and an appropriate warm-up. So I would start my day with a cup of joe and a couple of games against the AI. Another big thing I had taken away from Survivalist videos was that the best way to get better is not to play more, but to watch and analyze previous games and see what you did wrong or what you could have done better. And I knew there was a lot of room for improvement. So I watched all my games from the night before where I had won and kind of made a realization. I would often have way more military than the other guy early on, but I was too scared to actually attack half the time. So my plan today was simple. Castle drop as soon as possible, even if it's not the most aggressive castle, and prioritize pumping out like 6 Jannies. And when you're at 6, they're way too strong for the enemy to deal with at that point, so you just go in and start wrecking havoc. And even if they do die, by that point you'll have time to have made 10 or 20 more waiting to head into battle. Once I made this self-discovery, my elo was about to climb. It was gonna climb higher than your cousin after he goes for a walk on Thanksgiving. Potatoes. But this was it, for real this time. Today was gonna be my ladder climb day. I had studied, practiced, retreated, regrouped, re-energized, and proven my strategy. I could feel this dark power inside me. Now it was time to execute. That's GG. And in under 24 hours, I was able to gain 200 elo with this strategy. But if I was gonna go pro. But if I was gonna become a professional Age of Empires player, doing it like this would take forever. And I only had 1 day left. I knew in order to be the best, you had to beat the best. Sunday, Survivalist would awake to some terrible news.
Wait, Master, there is something I must know.
If into the Discord DMs you go, only pain will you find.
You, me, 1v1 arena.
It can't be. I can't watch anymore.
Destroy Ottawa. We must.
I had challenged him, and I was gonna get ready the only way I knew how. So I got up and walked over to the kitchen to grab myself some Ottawa Welshman gaming propellant powder. Hi, Salesman John here. I knew in order to be a winner, I had to fuel with carcinogenic powder in my I knew in order to be a winner, I had to put carcinogenic I cannot say carcinogenic. I had to put carcinogenic powder in my body like a winner. There you are, I fucking nailed it. Did you know Ottawa Welshman gaming propellant powder is the only powder that isn't chalky crap those pretentious snobs would sell you? Not only that, but it comes in over 2 flavors. We have my personal favorite, sheep. Yum, tastes like real mutton. And the brand new flavor, goat. I mean, that one's just okay. And do we have a special offer for you today? If you like and subscribe to this video right now, we will totally ship you an entire crate of Ottawa Welshman gamer powder petrol or whatever I called at the beginning of this ad read. So like and subscribe now. So after chugging my drink, I knew this was my day. I had been preparing. I was dialed in. And in front of 400 people on stream, we would 1v1, 6 on sheep. We're doing fine.
Dadgum.
A minute in and he's playing these mind games? 2 can play at that.
Quit touching me.
4 on wood, and I'm humming like a well-oiled machine. A couple guys on berries. Okay, I idled my TC a bit. Just nerves, I got this, I got this. And then all of a sudden, over the Discord call, I hear this.
Oh, we got a huge raid from Memb. Welcome, everybody.
Now, for those of you not following Age of Empires tournaments, there was a huge tournament at the time, Warlords. And the grand finals of that tournament was being streamed and had just ended. And the host of the tournament, Memb, raided Survivalist stream. Now I was gaming live against a pro Age of Empires player with over 3,000 people watching me. If you wouldn't consider this a professional game, I don't know what you would. I had to really get it going. Next, I put 1 on wood. Actually, that should have been berries. Fuck. More idle time. Damn it. Okay, let's get some gold and we'll figure it out later. Shit, I'm housed. No, don't put a house there. What am I doing? He's already in feudal? I haven't even clicked up yet. I gotta follow. Now he's in castle? Oh, no, no. I got a wall. Oh, man. He was in. It was over.
You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy this!
Arena clowns.
Did not join them! I hate you!
And just like that, my 1-week journey to become a professional Age of Empires player ended in failure. So what did we learn? We learned that you cannot give in to the gamer rage inside you. We learned that if you take a full week of your life and try to get better at a video game, you can go from absolutely tragic to just simply mediocre. We learned that even on your toughest days, you have to get up the next day and try just one more thing, and that there's always somebody that cares about you out there. We learned that the Persians love Neymar.
Neymar?
The Turks always seem to be looking for somebody.
Efendim.
Efendim?
Efendim. Efendim.
And obviously, the Celts love...
Kid?
Classic. We learned that Survivalist, an Age of Empires YouTuber and streamer, and his coaching and strategy suggestions was able to actually help improve me over time. And most importantly, we learned that I'm just absolutely shit at video games. Just pure garbage. I belong nowhere near a computer. Anyways, if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
The Ottawa.
Oh yeah, and I learned Age of Empires 2 fan songs, always bangers.